is Delbert. I'm an addict.
Hey, Delbert.
Good afternoon, family. I'm real grateful to be here. I'm real grateful to be clean. And I'd like to thank the God of my understanding for allowing me another day without using. First, I'd like to welcome anybody that's new to the program of Narcotics Anonymous and tell you to just keep coming back. Please keep coming back because it does get better. This program is unbelievable. It has saved me from me. And I'm still coming. First, I'd like to thank Joe for finally getting me to come back to share it. And you guys' area convention. I've never been to Camp Mac. It was amazing. I took a walk with my grand sponsor. He's here, and we walked to the tree. After we got through eating, both of us, like we diabetics and vegetarians and everything, so we had to really get ourselves ready. So I took the walk down there, and we kind of meditated and observed the tree. It was unbelievable. I never seen anything like that. It just amazed me, and I felt a real sense of serenity come over me. Like it calmed me down to get me ready to do this here. And it's anytime you get up here and divulge your most innermost feelings and call ourselves sharing, we be nervous. And it's God trying to shake the truth out of us. We get up here in front of people, and talk about ourselves. It's amazing. We can sit in the meetings and just share our asses off. But then when we come to a convention or have to be the speaker or something, it's a whole different story. Because like everybody's eyes on you. Now what you gonna say now? Are you gonna really get honest? You know what I'm saying? So it's about, this program is about being honest, man. And my topic, the best guarantees. You said I thought it was the best guarantees against relapse, but same thing. But I just worded it a little different. Our best guarantees against relapse. My friend Tom, good to see you, brother. Up in here, man. I see some people, that I was in the war with, man. What I'm saying, in the chemical war. A lot of years. You know what I'm saying? I stayed out there a long time, man. I was 44 when I came to this process, man. I'm 57 today. You know what I'm saying? And then I used for a long time, and it took me a lot to get here, and it's taken me a lot just to stay here. And I done been through a lot of stuff since I've been in this program. And what I had to really find out about was this thing that's encompassed within myself. They call it the disease of addiction. I had to get an understanding about that, man. And it took, first of all, getting somebody to help me learn about the disease of addiction. Because I just thought I was just a dope fiend, man. You know what I'm saying? I was going to use that thing for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I was going to just die using it. And we all probably say the same thing. So I had to get somebody to come in to help me through this process. And, and that's why we get sponsors. I think sponsorship is the hardest process, man. And without sponsorship in this program here, you are struggling, man. I ain't going to say what you ain't going to do, but it's going to be hard for you. And my sponsor and I, thank you, Steph, for riding up here with me. We close, man. We talk basically every week, because we was talking about that coming up here to how addicts say they got sponsors and don't talk to them for 3 and 4 weeks, months, not weeks, months. And then don't even know their phone number, don't know your sponsors or sponsors. I don't understand that, man. I'm kind of confused and lost on that. If you participate in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, man, it just amazes me, man. And we talking about our best guarantee against a relapse. Those are some of the most important things, man. Because once you find out about this disease of addiction, my sponsor taught me this stuff here, man. And it says something right here. And when I share, I use the text a lot. I'm sorry, you know what I'm talking about? This is why I come, this is what I do. Because I can say some of the most outrageous nonsense. And sometimes my nonsense make good sense to me with this sick-ass disease I got. You see what I'm saying? So I have to keep myself in check, and I can go to the text because I trust this process and I believe in what it said. You know what I'm saying? I take it everywhere I go. When I go to a meeting, I got my basic text. I'm serious. Sometimes I still judge other addicts, man. Looking at them saying, why they come to the meeting and don't bring the text? Then they come to a meeting and the meeting schedule says, BT, basic text, bring your text, or whatever NA literature you're supposed to read. They still come. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But it says we did not choose to become addicts. We suffer from a disease that expresses itself in ways that are antisociable and that makes detection, diagnosis, and treatment difficult. And I put another spell on it, if at all. You understand what I'm saying? If at all. See, my story about this here recovery process, man, was a long battle, man, with the drugs that I use. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't just gonna so caught up in no Pacific, because it don't matter what we use. We just use. We got a disease and it comes itself with obsessions and compulsion. Once I get started, I cannot stop. I'm out the gate. You know what I'm saying? Now that I've been clean for a while, the drugs kind of changes. The obsessions be other. We got a disease that transfers its obsessions from one thing to another. So every year I'm working on something different. My 12th year, I'm still working on something different every year. It don't matter, man. It's always something that devil got to work on. And I'm finding out that these is what I got to do as a recovering addict to keep myself in place. I got to continually and constantly work on me, because I'm finding out, man, that I'm the one with the problem. You all do not have the problem. I got the problem. I need the help. That's why I keep coming to meetings. I go to a lot of meetings. I always say this, man. I go to my home. I start my week out on Sunday morning. I don't go to a dogmatic religious affiliation. I ain't caught up in that. You see what I'm saying? This is my thing. I go to a Sunday morning meeting. What my grand sponsor was talking about this morning, the sky's the limit. We all missed it this morning because we was coming here. I go to my home group on Monday night. Thanks for the miracle. Every Monday night, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? I don't go on Tuesday because I done got a little balance in my life today. So I have to give myself a break. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'm in college. I go to school. So these are my school days, the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. I go to a meeting on Wednesday. I go Friday night to my sponsor's home group. And Saturday night to my sponsor home. And Friday night, I go to a meeting. Still. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is just the way I live. This is my best guarantee against relapse. I found that meetings work and it helps. It's the program. I used to think that maybe I can just go to one meeting a week, call people and talk to them on the telephone. That don't work, man. We got to get up in the rooms, man, and share what's going on with us, man, to prepare ourselves for what's going on. This recovery, man, is an ongoing process, man. And it takes a whole lot. And it talks about that we have to adapt this program to our life, man. We got to get involved in it, man. We got to put our life into this program, man. We just can't get it from up here in the ears. We got to get it from the spirit and the heart. You know what I'm saying? We got to trust this process. I think the second step is so prevalent in our recovery process because it constantly reminds me that I got to get with a power greater than myself. That my thinking, as intelligent as I think I am, y'all heard me talking about I go to college and all that. See, I went back to college in 1998, you know what I'm saying? I'm still in college, you know what I'm saying? I'm like a junior now, And so I think I know a few little things, you see what I'm saying? But the second step helped put me in place, man, that the insanity of this disease and how cunning and baffling and insidious that it is, that it plays on everything I do. Man, this disease, man, is unbelievable. You see what I'm saying? I don't care how much of recovery you think you got and how long you think you been around here, but in the end, you got a disease that'll still tell you on them times when you're by yourself, guess what? You still ain't shit. You still an addict. You understand what I'm saying? Still an addict, And I understand that, so that's why I have to go back to that. I think that's why the second step is so powerful in my life, man. I constantly go back to it on a regular basis. Because like I said earlier, it's so easy for me to take some nonsense and try to make some good sense out of it. Come up with all kind of stuff, man. I got the most distorted and irrational thinking that I think anybody can have. It amazes me sometimes of the stuff that I think about and what I come up with. I'm serious. I'm saying that where did that, and then when we start doing things that we didn't do when we was using, Now we can do while we clean. Because we get a little, I don't know what it'd be. It'd be some, we just like shit to be not normal. You know what I'm saying? We like to live on the edge. You see what I'm saying? We like drama. We like that. It says in this program, the first thing we do is stop using. At this point, we begin to feel the pain of living without drugs or anything to replace them. The pain forces us to seek a power greater than ourselves that can relieve our obsessions to use. Right. So, a power that's greater than me, the group, my sponsor, the literature, the steps. You see what I'm saying? The God of my understanding. Even when in the beginning, I didn't have no inclination about the God of my understanding. Because in all actuality, I didn't even trust God in the beginning, But it's something about trusting another addict. You know what I'm saying? Trusting another addict, man, to help me. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought I was hip, slick, and wicked. He could tell you. He know me very well. Y'all can, man, listen. I don't know, man. I came in this program with my arms slinging. I come out of the city of Guarentee, born and raised there all my life, man. And I hung out with crazy people that did crazy things. And I thought I was hip, cool, and slick, and wicked, and I knew everything. I didn't even know how to have a real conversation. You know what I'm saying? I had a cap cocked ace deuce, a cool cigarette hanging out my mouth, and I talked with my head cocked sideways, and every other word was a cuss word. MF this, B this, P that, all this crazy stuff. Today I don't do all those things. This program is for me, it has been a behavior modification for myself. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm starting to learn a lot of things about me that I didn't even know was even possible. You say, well, you come in here at 44, you're like, man, I'm grown, I did all this here, but I was just like a child when I come in here. And that's why I had to have a sponsor to guide me through this stuff, man. Even today, man, my sponsor has to help me with a lot of stuff. I had to go call him, man. What do you think about this here? You know what I'm saying? I did some stuff 2 weeks ago, man. And I'm telling y'all like it is. That's me, honestly. And I didn't call my sponsor before I made the move. I did like they said. What they say? Call me before you use. Don't wait till you use a call. Call first, So I called him after the fact. Sponsor, guess what, man? Man, because we had a big hailstorm in Indianapolis, right? So the insurance company came, my car was all damaged, my house was damaged. So they gave me this $3,000 and something check. I still got the check. Check this out. So my wife and I signed it, but it was a 3-party check. So in my head, I knew it was a 3-party check. So you got a 3-party check, what that mean? 3 people have to sign the damn check. Right? But in my mind, this is $3,000. I pay this damn insurance policy. So I'm paying for this car. I'm going to keep some of this money for myself and get what I want fixed on the car. So we cashed the check. Not only we cashed the check, we got us $100 a piece right off the top. You know how we do. Like when I used to go cop. As soon as I cop on my way back to the crib, I'm hitting it before I get there. So, what I'm saying? I can't wait. Usually I'm dope sick, so I got to get a hit right away, So that's the same feeling, man, So I cashed the check, man, and then start spending money out of it for this, and oh, man, my wife said, well, I need this. Oh, this is crazy, man, But then one day, I went to the bank machine. No, I went to get me some gas. Put my card in the damn thing, and it denied it. I went inside. The dude said they denied it. I called the bank. I had a $2,000 deflect. Minus $2,000. I said, what? What the hell going on? You see what I'm saying? It was crazy, man. Then I found out today that the insurance company wouldn't cash the check. They sent it to them. They wouldn't on it. So I got the check back and it said, missing endorsement. So, then I called my sponsor. We talk about the best guarantee against relapse, right? I called him. I said, man, guess what? So you know what he told me. Delbert, it's a 3-party check. Did you know that? Yes, I knew it. But I wanted some instant gratification, and I got it. And there's consequences behind when we do stuff like that. So I had to, and it hurt, man. You know what I'm saying? Cause it hurt me. Cause I'm gonna tell y'all, I get my paychecks go through direct deposit, man. I get a paycheck plus I get a check from my pension. I tell people, a lot of people don't. I was fortunate enough to retire from the Guarentee Fire Department after 20 years of service. Can you imagine? A dope fiend fireman, retired, but I retired. And I get a pension and all this stuff, so this so happened, it was close to that time, and all my money was direct deposit, so they took all my money. Not all of it, but it was a few dollars there. So, I had to pay my mortgage, my light, my gas, the telephone, all kind of stuff. So I had to do some more stuff to do what I'm saying? But it worked out. You know how we are. When our back's against the wall, we know how to come out fight, don't it? Always, man. We come up with some of the cleverest shit, But I got it taken care of, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still in the hole with some other stuff, but but it's just the point, man, that my good thinking ass want to do this stuff here, man, and this is what happens, man, So now I'm riding around with a fucking, I'm riding around because I was pissed, and I'm still kind of pissed. I'm riding around with a resentment against my insurance company. I'm saying, can you believe this here? I'm firing them. I'm going to get me another insurance company. But I got this $3,000-something check. I can't do nothing with it but put my car in the shop and get it fixed.
I've been there.
Yeah, I'm telling y'all, man, So I called the Ford people that I pay my car note to, and told them, yeah, we'll endorse the check, but we're going to send it to the people that's going to work on your car. So, what do? We either surrender laying down or we surrender standing up. How we going to surrender? How much of a program do we really got? How these spiritual principles going to really work in us?
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Because I got to surrender, before I really get some acceptance. I don't know about y'all. That's just mine, what I'm saying? I really got to surrender. And I don't like surrendering like that there. Because I got an ego and this arrogance about myself that I still think that I can do things the way I want to do it, and I want to do it just like that. Is that part of the disease of addiction? We want what we want when we want it, and we want to do it the way we want it when we want to do it. Whoa, man. Okay. And what can I do? It says right here, and I was, I had to ask I went to some real smart addicts in our area. I said, well, man, where it says, I already knew where it was. How I read this, my book is tore all up, I read it, I work. Where does it say the best guarantee against relapse at, So I finally got a real smart addict, one of my grand sponsees. He was real intelligent. I ain't gonna say his name. But he told me to go to What Can I Do? Because I thought it was in recovery and relapse, And I said, you got a point there. So I found it. We was in the meeting, I said, look, it was great. Thank you, brother. But it said, our experience reveals that working the steps is our best guarantee against a relapse. Our experience reveals. But I believe it's more to it than just working the steps. I believe applying the steps is the key. Because if you just work the step, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if your behavior is just like you was when you first come here and you say, oh, I done worked all these steps. You been to me sharing about y'all did this. But your behavior dictates that you ain't done nothing, that you're still using dope. Have y'all ever seen that? Yeah. And I hate to judge and moralize and stereotype and look at other folks, you know what I'm saying? Because it's about me. But sometimes I just say, woo. Because it talks about gradually we replace old habits with new ways of living. And I believe it's so true. We got to change from what we used to be to something that we are today. You understand what I'm saying? And it's a process, man. And it's a slow process. Because we didn't just come in here willingly and talking about changing. All I wanted to do was just stop hurting from what this drugs had did to me. Because I was mandated through the courts when I got here, man. I'm telling you, I was mandated, man. You know, that federal judge say, brother, you gonna either go to treatment or you gonna go to the penitentiary. And that's the way, and I didn't think judges talk like that. I'm talking about a magistrate over in Hammond, Indiana, the federal judge. He talked to me just like that. And you know what I said? Yes, sir. Hum on this. You know, we get real humble. When we up against the wall, I say, yes, sir. Cause see, I had failed so many times, man. You know, I'm gonna tell y'all, I got clean in 94, right? But I first started doing this thing in like 92. You know, I remember going to first I moved from Gary to Indianapolis because I said I was gonna get away from the people from Gary, because if I get away from them, I can stop using drugs, right? So I migrated to Indianapolis, Indiana. And me and my wife, we trucked down I-65 going south. You know what I'm saying? The first thing I had to do was get me a bag of heroin and a bag of cocaine to take with me so I can suffice myself, you know, when I get there. But I'm gonna change. You know what I'm saying? So I just kept using it when I got to Indianapolis for a while, for a couple of years, you know. I went to court 2 times. I went to a halfway house in 92. I stayed clean 6 months. Did real good, went to meetings and everything up in Crown Point, and went to all these meetings, and you know, I was listening to people. I wasn't sharing a whole lot of stuff. I went to outpatient treatment, and I told the outpatient therapist, I don't like groups. I like one-on-one sessions. I don't like telling everybody my business. You see what I'm saying? So, and I talked to her, so I manipulate my way through that. And I stayed clean the whole 6 months I was in that halfway house. First of all, I'm gonna tell y'all, they didn't let me leave the halfway house. First of all, they made me work in the damn kitchen. I couldn't even leave. I was the cook. The jailhouse cook, in other words. They gave me a pass like twice while I was out there for 4 hours each time. So, you know, and I stayed clean. As soon as I got out of there, I used. 6 months. Went straight to my man's house. You know what I'm saying? Because I had no best guarantee against a relapse. I really hadn't even surrendered to this stuff. I didn't know nothing about this here. I went over to my friend's house. He said, man, you ain't using, you better be careful with this stuff, man. Give me that shit. I took that, hit that thing, man. I was like throwing all the way up, all the way back to Indianapolis. You know, I got back here, then I had to do it again. I had to go back to court again. They sent me to a halfway house again, man. I used while I was in there, the same thing. While I was living there, I was working a little crazy job at midnight. I was getting high the whole time. They kicked me out of the jailhouse because I was a federal resident, you know what I'm saying? So they kicked me out, man. No guarantee against me. I didn't know nothing about this here, man. You know, I like sharing this here because something might help somebody else. So they kicked me out of that place, man. Told me I had to go back to the judge. And the judge told me, that's when the judge told me that you're going to do this here or you're going to jail. So he sent me back. I went to Michigan City and finished my halfway house time up there for 2 months. And they wouldn't let me go out there either. All they did was make me, I went to the Dunes house, to the little treatment center down on 20. There was another spot. They didn't close it down. They had a little treatment center in the hospital. They closed that down now. But I went to, you know, it was like AA meetings, NA meetings. I went to every meeting they had up there and had my paper get signed. And I stayed clean until I got out of there. And just so happened, another one of my mans was in that spot too. And he was still slanging dope. And he took me home, took me back to Gary when I went to his house over in Hammond, got me some more dope, and went back high again, you know. Then I had 15 dirty drops after that, and that's when they made me go to treatment. I went to treatment, I ain't looked back. So I'm thankful, man. You know, I'm so grateful, you know. So I know what the best guarantee is, man. You know, I think it's important for us to get a foundation in this process, man. I really think you need to be grounded, man. You got to get a foundation. You got to surrender. You know, you need to inventory all that crazy shit you done did and see why you did it, man. And then you get with this power greater than yourself to help you, which is the group, the meeting, my sponsor, you know. Some people call it God, whichever they say in the second step. Then I had to get with this concept they talk about and what can I do? Getting the concept of developing the concept of a God of our understanding. In the third step, it talks about that. We make a decision to turn our will and our lives over. You You know, well, what is your will? What is your life? My ways, my thinking, my attitude, my behaviors, right?
Yeah.
I turn all that over. So this change has been gradually. Now, you know, I ain't smoking cigarettes no more. You know, I'm living much better. I eat right. I'm a vegetarian today. You know, I gave up the meat. You know, I'm a diabetic, man. I got hepatitis C. Most addicts got hepatitis C. They might not say it, you know, but if you use, man, you know, more than likely you probably been touched with the hep C virus, man. So I got hep C. It's okay. I'm doing good. I check myself every 6 months as a doctor, do biopsies. I did 2 or 3 biopsies, and I'm cool. But I got friends that done died from as a result of hepatitis C, as a result of them using drugs. See what I'm saying? I got a partner right now, man, he's struggling with it. You know, this thing is for real, man, you know. So, you know, it's kind of scares me, you know, so I'm talking about some guarantees, man, you know. Things we got to do. And even if we do all the things that we supposed to do, I mean, everything we supposed to do, something still can happen. So you want to question God. Why God? You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm finding out, man, you know, through this stuff that I'm doing, that when God put a period, that's it. There is no question that goes on top of that period. You know what I'm saying? So God's will is just God's will, even when it ain't the way I want it to be. So I'm more acceptable to those things, you know, because my surrender process is not as prolonged as it used to be. So I act crazy for a minute now when it used to be hours. You know what I'm saying? So the little addict man in me don't come out and play like it used to. You know, but every now and then it can creep up and it come out and act crazy, you know. So, man, you know, I'm so thankful, man, you know, to be in a program that has allowed me to not only to live, but learn to live without the use of drugs. You see what I'm saying? And I say this also, I'm thankful. The God of my understanding has truly blessed me. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said, why he just picked me and not lot? Because he picked you. Just accept it. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'm the beacon. I'm the person supposed to carry the message to the addict that's still suffering, for the addict that ain't walked through the door yet. You see what I'm saying? Just like addicts, that like y'all that was here before I got here, and welcomed me in that door, gave me a big hug, smiled at me and said, keep coming back. Don't use no matter what. If you feel like using, call somebody before you use. Just stay in the meetings, man. Talk about what's going on with you. And the recovery and relapse piece, it talks about the emotional upheavals and spiritual upheavals that we have. That can lead us back to a relapse. I didn't see people relapse because somebody else in relapse, because they caught up in a relationship that's real dysfunctional. Because they wasn't comfortable with themselves. So I got people close to me. They use, what can I gonna do? It hurts me. I feel it. But I'm responsible for my own recovery. I got to take care of Delbert at all times. So if I don't stay buoyant and keep myself spiritually fit, it's so easy for me to go back to. You know, I'm telling man, this disease, man, is so crazy, man. You know, I got a friend in this process, man. You know, we came in this process together. We used to ride together, you know, we used to argue all the time because I thought he was out of his damn man, for one thing. They used to call him crazy, man. But anyway, you know, he used to always talk about he doing all right. Then he get into a dysfunctional relationship, man. And we talked to him for 2 years. 2 years. Everybody sharing the same thing with him. The house is on fire. Get your ass out now. Right now. I'm serious, man. You know, I struggle when they used to talk about the house on fire. Me being a fireman all the time. You know, I used to have this helmet, this bucket coat, these boots. I was strapped down with a water hose. I used to fight the fire, crawl through that smoke. But I ain't got none of that no more. You know, when you come in here, you strip and get naked. You can't handle them kind of things there. So the brother used, man. You know, and I saw the brother a couple of weeks, man. You know, I'm in a job that allows me to help a lot of folks and talk to a lot of people. I gave, you know, helped him out what I can. And I was sharing with him then, man. And it's disheartening, man. And I really have empathy for him. I don't feel sorry for him, but I have this empathy for this brother, man. And I told him, I said, I love you, man. Come on, why don't you come on, go to the meeting tonight. It was a Monday night. I told him, come on, go to my home with me, man. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to get to, it's so hard, man. It hurt, man, When you get to the point where, where you used to have that zeal and you love this thing. This was your life, man. And you wonder what happens. The things that we stop doing, I guarantee you not using. We stop going to the meetings. We stop practicing spiritual principles. We start participating in our old behaviors again. We get caught up. We start hanging around with old people, places, and things. And we forget about this spiritual program, man. It ain't that important no more. We get complacent. We get cocky. I ain't gonna use no matter what. I can go sit in the dope house and watch him shoot dope, snort dope, drink dope, and I ain't gonna pick up none of it because I got a program. Getting to talk about I'm not powerless. I heard him say that. I got power. Yeah, you got some power, all right. You got power enough to take your ass to the meeting and talk about how powerless you really are. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, the first step gives us a little bit of power back. It gives us a choice. We got a choice. We can go pick it up or we can choose not to pick it up. That's right. But we can get so cocky and we can forget. And it don't take that much. Just a little bit, man. We can forget. I heard a friend of mine told me a long time ago about those instant forgetters that we got. You see what I'm saying? Instant forgetters. We forget about all the stuff that we went through, all that hell, that drama that it took for me to get where I'm at. It was painful. You know what I'm saying? We forget about that pain because we ain't in that pain.
That's right.
You know what I'm talking about? And we forget about it, man. And then that's when we thinking about it. Oh, we can handle this. And then this disease will tell us, well, shit, you can handle it anyway. You ain't like that. You just been doing this all this time. You really ain't that bad. You really can get one and be okay. You know what I'm saying? Now that's crazy. Because I know that if I put one in me, I know what's going to happen to me. I'm greedy, man. I was greedy. I know what I was using. I only did a blow because I was dead broke, didn't have no money. But I was such a manipulator and a cunning and a lying, I always found a way to get more than one. But one was never enough for me. One was just enough to get me out of bed and make me feel a little good for the moment. You know what I'm saying? Woo! Man, this disease is, it don't play, Jack. It don't play. How much more time I got, man? 5? Oh, that's her?
Yeah.
Right on, baby. Help her brother out. Okay. But check this out. In the recovery and the relapse, and I'm going to try to close right quick because, you know how we get when we get to going with our egos. When stuff goes on, that brother almost had me dancing up here. Shit. What's up, man? When stuff goes on, and it talks about how self-will leads us to make decisions based on manipulation, ego, lust of false pride. Yeah. You know how prideful we is. I don't like coming and telling y'all all the crazy stuff I done did something because we live on this ego and this pride. But if I don't strip and get for real, then it's a possibility because we got these reservations or a resentment that can lead us back to the same destruction that brought us in here. It don't take but this much. It's unbelievable. And it says our egos will tell us that we can do it our own, but loneliness and paranoia quickly return. That's deep, man.
Yeah, it is.
That is deep. I didn't realize that the disease of addiction encompassed arrogance and ego. It's unbelievable. I'm recovering. I know what to do. I ain't using over in 12 years. I know what to do. I can handle certain things. I had to keep it real, man. It's a lot of things I don't know how to handle. It's a lot of stuff, man. I need help continually. That's why you gotta call your sponsor, use your sponsor, man. Work some steps, man. Work on yourself, man. Check your behavior all the time. Inventory yourself every night, man. See what you done did for the day. See how stupid I done act all day. You know, it's that guilt and shame is no fun to have no more. You know, I came up in here, I was encompassed with a lot of guilt, shame, and remorse. You know, I can't deal with that shit today, man. You know, I can't just step on your toe and not tell you I'm sorry. I'm serious. I can't do it, man. So, but we got this personality, and I'm gonna get out of here. There's something in our self-destructive personalities that cries for failure. Most of us feel that we do not deserve to succeed. This is a common theme with addicts. You understand what I'm saying? Failure. That's a hell of a stuff, man. You know, the higher we go and the success that come in our life is something always cried out, say you ain't gonna do it, you're gonna mess it up, you're gonna do this here. You know, I got a job, man, that I didn't expect to do what I'm doing today, and I'm doing it. Man, I got to do certain things, and I had to go to certain places with certain people. Sometimes they do things that I don't really agree with what they doing, but I got to be present, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there, and they all like having fun, and hee-haw and clicking, and they got their little wine glasses, and they all, they usually them wine glasses be like tall like this here, and they be like real moist, and cause the stuff is cold, and like it's sweating, and it look pretty, and you know, they be having this stuff, and I be saying, sometimes I'm sitting there talking, you know, you ever been with somebody, I be like, I talk to them sometimes, and I'm saying, oh, I ain't gonna, then I'm just watching, you know, using, you know what I'm saying? And my head take me to, damn, that looks good. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You know, then I had to, oh, wait a minute. Hold it, stop. Shit. That ain't right. You know, so I had to leave. So I really can't hang long. You know, when I try to be a social individual, you know, but I had to be around my family. People ain't using, man. You know, I eat my own personal blood family, man. I want to say they dysfunctional. Cause of the stuff, you know what I'm saying? I just had a death, man, that I went through, man, with a niece, man. I had to be the person that was responsible for disconnecting her lifeline and everything. It was a hard choice, man. I had to do a lot of praying. You know, I thank you, I love you, brother, because I call this brother every day, man, too. He called me to check on me, man, because I was going through some emotional and spiritual upheavals, man. I mean, I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of confusion. You know, and it could have been so easy for me to do something to take me out of what I was feeling. You know, and the whole family, everybody was calling me about this person. You know, so I had to go to court and sign some papers to be guardianship of this person, you know what I'm saying? Because her mother had just died like 18 months ago. You know, she was leaving Gary to come to visit us in Indianapolis, hit a deer, flipped the truck open, you know, and she died with 2 babies, man, you know. So, you know, I had to deal with that, and got her kids there and trying to explain to them kids. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all been through that stuff there, man. You know, so it was a week or 2. I just cried every day, man. You know what I'm saying? I was just trying to be this strong person. You know, this pride and this ego. I was trying to be, you know. And guess what happened? It was like Friday night is when the accident happened. They called me about 2:30 in the morning. I spent all that night in the hospital. And the next morning, I had to go share for a guy celebrating some clean time, and my topic was the 3rd step. You understand what I'm saying? So I went on to, you know what I'm saying? So my wife went to the hospital. I went to share, man, and then it was 3 people he had sharing. This so happened. They said, well, you ain't got much time, devil. You go. I said, oh, thank you. And I got up there and I cried for 10 minutes.
Oh, man.
Just burst out crying. I couldn't even talk, man. You know, and it still hurts me. You know, it's still painful. You know, so, but, you know, we go through those things. So, but the thing is, man, I was spiritually and emotionally fit to handle that. So my sponsor said, well, it's your turn, brother. It's your turn. Stuff's going to happen in this process. Get ready. Do what you got to do to help yourself, to work on yourself, prepare yourself for whatever comes down the chute. Because if you stay here, some stuff going to happen. And they're going to say, how you going to handle it? What you going to do now? Are you going to face the reality of what's going on? Are you going to do like we used to do, is turn around and start running? I had to stand up, face the reality, so I did it. You know what I'm saying? My family, they thanked me so much. I was just outdone because I was, you know how we think, the worst. I thought they were going to be talking about me. They said, you had a lot of courage. They said you had a lot of courage to do that, man, and we love you and thank you. Help me, man. And when she passed, man, the relief came off me, and it was like, oh, man, it was like I was, whew. So I'm real thankful, man. I know it's time for me to go. Thank y'all for allowing me to share. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Kerry. I'm an addict.
Hey, Kerry.
Jonathan said something about the shirt I was wearing. He said he had one, and it reminded me that when we were at the World Convention in Hawaii, I got up every morning and went to the 12 Coconuts group. I was like 7 a.m. every morning or so. And not exactly the ideal time to get up when you're on vacation in a nice place, but it was an ideal thing to do every morning. And an addict there told me about aloha. Aloha is one of those universal terms, you know, like shalom or something. It means, you know, a lot of things. Hello, goodbye, and peace, and, you know. But this guy said it meant a lot of happy addicts. I see a lot of aloha here. Who heard of such a thing as a happy addict? You know, I suppose I was happy sometimes right after I copped, but then I lost consciousness, and I don't know what happened to happiness, but it wasn't there when I came to. Or at least that's what I called happiness. That's what I settled for. This workshop's called our best guarantee against using. Well, God, that's it. Pray. That's your best one. I don't know where you came from, but I could never stay clean. I never could stay clean. I had some good ideas about how to stay clean some days. I had made commitments and swore oaths and blamed you and did all kinds of things, but I could never stay clean. And if there's any one single difference, it's just got to be prayer, asking to stay clean. Now, my understanding of God is that God will say, I'll help you stay clean. But there's some things you got to do. I guess first things first is show up.
That's right.
Just show up. It really doesn't matter. I mean, the first couple weeks or so of meetings for me, I sat there in utter contempt of everybody in the room. You know, I hated it. And I judged everybody, and I disagreed with everything everybody said. Of course I did. It was absolutely, completely opposite and contrary to how I lived and thought. Everything that was said was completely opposite. But that's okay. Just show up. We're used to that. I think when I look back now in retrospect at my first year or two in recovery, I'm amazed I stayed clean. You know, and I can see now that the group carried me, my sponsor carried me, you know, and my higher power was definitely carrying me. You know, because I wasn't doing that much to help myself. I thought I was. I was making a few efforts, and I was doing some things and doing what I was told, but nothing in comparison to what others were doing for me. No. So that brings us to things like the first step. My experience today with the first step is our best guarantee is to keep in mind that if the main symptom of my disease is denial, and denial is characterized as the inability to be honest with myself, and the main symptom of my disease is this voice that says, you don't have me. And if I stay clean, but I still have the disease, then what makes me think the symptom goes away? Because I surrendered on a certain date and time. So, for me, what I've come to understand is the surrender is daily. That's one of the best guarantees against using today, is to surrender today and every day. And try not to forget that, because the disease doesn't. Right? The disease doesn't. It'll tell you, you don't have me today. You're doing really good. By the way, you're a piece of shit. You know, at the same time, but yeah. And you don't deserve any of this, but it's important to do the surrender and to understand what powerlessness is. And one of the things I usually talk about with powerlessness is where I live, our power goes out a lot during storms. And I'll be in the house and I'll think, well, you know, the house is dark, you know, and I'll think, well, I'm going to go in the kitchen and get something to eat. And I get in there and I go, oh yeah, the microwave doesn't work, you know, and the stove doesn't work because it's electric. Or I'll just simply walk into a room and try to flip the switch to get the light on, you know. But if there's no power, the light's not coming on. Control feels a lot like power, but it's not. See, because I got control of the light switch, I can flip it all day long. But if there's no power in the circuit, there's no light, right? Addiction and recovery is a lot the same way. You can learn some things in these rooms, and you can get some things back, and you can get some control in your life. But it doesn't equal power, and it doesn't equal manageability. And it's important for me to remember that I can forget that. The same way I forget the electricity's off. I can still try to go flip the switch, you know. And to my amazement, it doesn't work. So those are just some fundamental things. And I guess all the best guarantees to staying clean are just the fundamental things. There's nothing fancy, nothing advanced here. I mean, the best way to not use is don't pick up, you know. I don't really remember anybody forcing me to do anything. You know, I mean, there were times when I could have looked at some of my friends or associates and said, well, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be so messed up. But we all know the truth. You know, they had nothing to do with it. Hell, I sought them out. You know. Recently, I was listening to Danny T talk, and one of the things he said, and it was directed at newcomers. So, and I have to say, a newcomer can be anybody, anytime, on any day. So, if I include myself in there, between 0 and 26 years. 2 words to remove from your vocabulary. I know. I think that was one thing I didn't get at first for the first couple of years. People would say things, and I'd read the book, and I'd go, I know, I read it in the book, I know that. You know? And they'd go, no, you're not listening. Yes, I am, I know. And I know really meant, please be quiet, I don't want to hear it anymore. You know? And that was pride getting in my way. We talk a lot about resentment. Silver talked a little bit about it. Resentment takes a lot of addicts back out. It's a pretty subtle process. I think it starts with frustration of any kind. Frustration begets resentment. Resentment begets self-pity, and self-pity begets using. And using begets frustration. And the cycle just keeps repeating. And as addicts, what I've seen is we can't really afford any of that cycle, or all of it starts to repeat itself. So we have to be aware of that. The principle of anonymity means, in some ways, that we're all equal. That there's nobody here that's got it over on anybody else. No matter how long you stay clean, or how many times you go through the steps, or how spiritual you get, you'll never get promoted beyond the rank of addict here. Okay? But you may think I'm splitting hairs or semantics or something here, but I think some people have advantages here over others. I think that if you read the literature, you have an advantage.
Okay.
I think if you have a home group, you have an advantage. I think if you have a sponsor, you have an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think if you call your sponsor, you further that advantage. I think if you quit telling them I know, it gets better.
Break down, Gary.
I think if you have a network of people in your life, you have an advantage. And if you're new and you're watching everybody greet and hug all their old friends and, you know, talk, and you're feeling like, God, I don't have any of that, and I'll never have that. And yeah, you will. They didn't have it either
That's right.
Right.
when they got here.
That's right.
That's okay. The group's primary purpose is to carry the message to the addict, right? So that's what groups did for me. They carried the message, and they carried me with it until I got the message. We know what the message is, right? Okay.
I know. I mean, no, I don't.
You know what the message is.
I know.
That's right. Can stop using, lose a desire to use, and find a new way of life, right?
Say it.
Something like that. I can't quote things verbatim that much anymore. I think I'm getting too old for it. In establishing a network, I like to call it staying in the middle. One of my pet phrases is, you can't fall off the middle. You know? You can fall off the edge, but you can't fall off the middle. You can go down when you're in the middle, but if you're in the middle with enough of us, we'll pick you back up before you slide off the edge.
That's right.
All right.
Okay? So, I'm a big believer inaction. I'm a big believer in that. No offense to anybody who's new. I'm not really worried about what's going on between your ears. I'm more concerned about what your feet are doing.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
what you're
it.
doing.
Mhm.
If you're going to meetings, if you're showing up, if you're participating, if you're helping set up and helping clean up and making a commitment and being involved in service, those are the things I'm interested in. Why? Because I pretty much know what's going on between your ears, because it was going on between mine,
That's right.
and it still is. My brain was trying to kill me. It's pretty evident. Some days it still does. Delbert was talking about that. I just had an experience with that with a guy. He made a really big decision and really screwed himself bad, and called me 2 weeks later to tell me he made the decision, and it's still affecting his life. You know, not that I could have saved him or anything. I mean, he might have still done what he was going to do, okay? But my experience is that if I'll open myself up to somebody first and say, you know, I'm thinking about this,
That's
Say
right.
something right.
they might say something like, what? You're thinking about doing what? You know. And then I might quietly say something like, well, I wasn't really thinking about really doing that. You know, sometimes you can't save your ass and your face at the same time, right?
No, no.
But sometimes you might save a little bit of face,
Just a smidge.
you know. If you're with somebody who's kind and gentle, you know, they let you save a little bit, but at the same time, give you the message. Keeping it simple.
Say it.
This came up the other day, and I'll tell this for the heck of it. The story about a guy that owned a ranch, done real well for himself, bought this big one of these 1,000-some acre ranches, you know, just miles and miles of fence and stuff. An old friend came to see him, and he toured him around in his Jeep, and boy, the guy was really impressed. He said, geez, this is a nice place. It's just huge. It just goes on forever. Buildings, and oh my God. He said, what's it called anyway? And the guy said, well, he said, our family functions kind of democratically. And he said, as such, you know, I wanted to call it the Barbecue Katy Ranch, but my wife wanted to call it the Katy Barbecue Ranch. But my son wanted to call it the Double Katy Barbecue Ranch, and my daughter wanted to call it the Double Barbecue Katy Ranch. The guy said, well, what'd you settle on? He said, we compromised. We called it the Katy Barbecue, Barbecue Katy, Double Barbecue Katy, Double Katy Barbecue Ranch. That's what his friend said. Damn, he said, that's a hell of a name. He said, by the way, he said, I've noticed, where do you keep the cattle? And he said, well, none of them have survived the branding yet. So,
That's bad.
Come on, man.
well, that might be bad, but, you know, think about it in terms of this program. You know, if I don't keep it simple, I may not survive the branding. See, if I get this all figured out in here, you know, and can't be a newcomer anymore, and can't learn anything, I might not survive my own brand of recovery in here.
Ooh-wee. All right.
I guess that brings us to humility, doesn't it?
Okay.
Humility is an action. You know, it's remaining teachable. At least that's what I've been told. I suppose it could be a lot of other things, but I'm open to new suggestions. But I think gaining humility, you do that through showing love to others. I don't know if that's a guarantee against relapse, but it sure feels good. You know, and I think if I feel good, I don't want to use anything to make me feel different. I don't know if it's all that simple, but it feels that way some days. So the simple things work just like they always have for you. You just can't forget about them. You can't get so far from the pain that you forget the pain. That's why the newcomer is so important to us. That's why we depend on each other for survival here, to perpetuate what we have in this program. Because it can be easy to forget where we come from. We get it going on, man. I did something I never do, and that's I wrote a couple notes, but you know what? I think I got through most of them. I am the substitute speaker, in case you didn't know. So I'm grateful to be the substitute speaker. Grateful for any opportunity to share. So while we brought that up, gratitude. Yeah. Mark talked about it last night, that gratitude is wanting what I have, not having what I want. Tough to understand that some days. You know, lose my focus and get obsessed with something, and gratitude goes right out the window. I know a lady that says this. She says, I will never be sufficiently grateful for my recovery. Think about that. You can never be sufficiently grateful for your recovery. That means you better get busy with gratitude, because you can never be grateful enough for the gift that's given, for the miracle. One tool I learned about that was to ask myself, how good does it have to get? You know, really, how good does it have to get? How good does the cheesecake have to taste before you say it's good cheesecake? Yeah, well, pick anything you want. But the concept is here is if you stay grateful, you have an advantage.
Yes, sir.
You have an advantage. Because you don't want to give up what you're grateful for having. Right? At least I don't. I don't know about you. I don't want to go back and live that way again. We were talking on the way here about some of that stuff. And I'm grateful I don't have to live that way anymore. God, that was a nightmare. And I've been around here long enough to see addicts die here from this disease, and it's a terrible death. Terrible. I don't know if any of them are good or anything, but man, it just seems like an addict's death has a lot of suffering and pain and not a lot of honor and integrity, and that's exactly where I was headed, and still could be. So I think, you know, for me, one of the most important things was right where I started, was staying close to a higher power. You know, asking him to keep me clean. Making sure I do that on a daily basis. I shared this the other night. For me, it's been like I say a prayer in the shower every morning. I tried meditation when the alarm went off. It didn't work. I hit the snooze button. Meditated myself right into sleep. Got to get on my feet a little bit. And I'll tell you a story about something like that too. And when I was new, this goes under the I know file. I kept hearing these guys talk about, and this was after I kind of got the message a little bit. I kept hearing these guys talk about in meetings, man, I was having such a bad day, it was terrible, and I hit my knees and I felt better, and they kept saying this about hit their knees and all this. And I didn't want to say anything because, you know, I had that pride, right? And I remember I went back to the apartment. I was sleeping on these guys' couch. And I went in the bathroom and I locked the door. And I went in the bathroom and I went. And I said, I don't feel any different. And I couldn't. I didn't tell anybody about that for years. You know? So I guess one thing, I guess I didn't have the upbringing some people had that would automatically know about that, but I remember in the bathroom going, that shit don't work. No. But anyway, I guess that brings me to that point where you say things like, well, if you hear something in a meeting and you don't understand it, well, ask. Go to the meeting after the meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to the coffee shop and go, you know, I heard you say something and I did. It wasn't quite clear on that.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Most of us love to talk, so we'll just tell you. Yeah, so that gets back to staying in the middle, right? Being involved after the meeting, you know. That means I don't have to leave this room in Narcotics Anonymous and then go right back to my world that hasn't changed that much yet. You know, I got a little buffer zone. I got some laughing, smiling people that'll sit down and just shoot the shit with me about nothing. Might learn something, might not, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I think I just can't emphasize enough, just don't try to do this alone. You know? Case in point, I spent a lot of years dodging surgeries. You know, I've had a messed up back since I've been a little kid. My knee's been screwed up for a few years after a minor surgery. And I just used to say to myself, well, I'm not doing anything like that because they'll put me on meds, and I don't want to be one of these people that ends up on pain meds and blah, blah, blah. And after talking to enough people about it, I finally realized, with their help, well, just who the hell do I think I am here? You know, if this keeps getting worse, who is it to say that the surgery is what's going to take me to the pain meds? Maybe not getting it done is going to take me to the pain meds.
Break it down.
Yeah. So I had to quit listening to myself. See, and listen to somebody else and do something I really didn't want to do, which was to have knee surgery, and I did that. And the results are not what I wanted because I got to do it over again. But I do know I can get through it now, you know, and I do know I can get through it clean, you know. Did I take pain meds? Yeah. Did I do it as prescribed? Yeah. Did I stop when the pain was done? Yeah. So it can be done. You know, so I knew that my thinking was really based in fear for myself. Some of it was based in experience of others and things I saw, but a lot of it had a lot to do with fear. So I pray for courage. You know, if I pray for courage, God gives it to me. I think that about covers it, folks. Thanks for letting me share.